Well, there's lots of dangers to an investor along the path to their ultimate success. Perhaps one of the biggest are those statements that, while true, are ultimately wrong. So how can something be true and also be wrong? And what kinds of things are we referring to? Well, one of the most important ones or common ones that comes up for investors is believing that the only way to make money, to have any kind of financial success in time, mandates that you can never lose any money, whether temporary or otherwise along the path. Unfortunately, that plan, to have money, to make money, I can't lose money, sounds right. In many ways, has to be right to a certain degree, ultimately fails. And ultimately fails a lot like a football team whose plan is, hey, you know what? We'll win if we never give up a single yard to the other team's offense or a single touchdown to the other team. That's true. Perhaps I'm not aware of a team that's ever won a football game without getting a single positive yard in the football game. But a few questions you need to ask yourself about any such plan. Number one, is it realistic? Number two, is it necessary to win, whether that's financially or again in a proverbial football game? What risks and gambles do I need to take as part of this plan? And finally, if this plan doesn't work and we give up that yard or we have that temporary setback within our portfolio, what would our emotional state be? What is our plan then? Again, some important questions that as you start to probe that statement that on the surface sounds good, starts to unravel pretty quickly, or you realize, again, is not a necessary path at all. So step number one, conceding a yard. For those of you who have played any sports, whether it's letting the other team score, letting them have a good play, there's plenty of chances to win and have the other team have moments or maybe even a number of moments of success. And to get too fixated on trying to stop those, to let those seep in too much on an emotional state is ultimately going to be the thing far more than any play that's going to keep you from succeeding. Volatility within stock markets or any other investment, much like a bad play, it's a temporary setback. It is not connected. It does not necessarily lead to or conclude in permanent loss, whether of the game, of the dollar, of your dream or your goal. Bad days in the market, like bad plays in the game, are something that's inevitable. They talk about how you lose or you miss, all the shots you don't take. The only way to never give up a yard, the only way to never have any type of setback, again, is to never even play the game. If you want to have those successes, those wins, it means embracing the struggle. The graphic that Matt's going to put up on the screen right now is one of our favorites. Simply put, it's a great visual reminder that volatility, those temporary setbacks, is an inevitable part of the life journey of an investor. But what you see when you see all those red dots is that it is something that's temporary. If you look at those gray bars, many of which end the year positively, just even in the calendar year, let alone over time, the results, you can see again, getting too hung up on those setbacks is to miss the bigger point, which is that of resiliency. The market is resilient. We need to be resilient as investors. And for any of those teams out there hoping to win, of course, they need to be resilient as well. Point number two is the cost of stacking the box. In football, stacking the box is to put almost all your defenders up or near at the line of scrimmage to try to stop the other team from getting even an inch. It can be a very effective way to stop a short yardage play, but it has all sorts of other vulnerabilities. And the same thing is true as an investor. In investing, stacking the box is going to all cash. Going to all cash can keep your portfolio looking like it's resilient, like it's holding up, but at the same time can come at a big cost. If you look at this next chart that Matt's putting up, you can see that cash is not only the worst performing asset class in the majority of years. If you look to the far right, it was the worst performing asset class from 2008 to the end of 2022. Now you can hear the common response to this, which is, well, at least I didn't lose anything. As is the title of this week's commentary. That's true. You didn't lose anything in terms of actual dollars in your account, and yet it is wrong, and it is untrue where it really matters, which is when it comes to purchasing power. Ultimately, why do we have money? To take care of ourselves and our loved ones, whether it's housing, food, healthcare, or perhaps even having a little bit of fun. And that's where the impact, the erosive, perpetual impact of inflation is constantly walking us down. In the last 30 plus years, we've only had 1 year where we didn't have inflation. Of course, that was 2008. And if you look over the same time frame as that quilt chart that we just showed you up above, from 2008 to the end of 2022, the average inflation was about 2.3%. If your cash is only growing at 0.4, that's a negative delta of about 1.9. So here again, while you've not lost any money, your purchasing power, what you hope or need to do on behalf of your family would have over that same time period diminished by close to 25%. A $500,000 portfolio that still looks like a $500,000 worth of cash in your bank account now has the purchasing power of about $375,000. A huge loss. If you look at that quilt chart again, you'll see just about anything would have been a better solution. What you need again is education, a good understanding of history to stay the course, cash flow, which can all happen through plan design, and ultimately an overall financial plan that meets your need. With those things in track, you can take advantage of more of those boxes again and stay the course. Last objective is, well, I'll just get back in when everything's good. I'll just get back in when it feels right. We'll quote and cite in the written commentary to two different things. One is Vanguard's Value of an Advisor. They have a behavioral finance component in that they show that ability to stay the course adds about 2% a year to the average investor's portfolio. Put another way, for everyone trying to time the markets, which is ultimately what they're trying to do in the name of being prudent, you're actually losing that potential of up to 2% a year, according to Vanguard. Our second stat that Matt's going to show in the graphic is from Dimensional Fund Advisors, which again is missing opportunities. Usually what people mean when they say, I'll get back in when it feels right, is that the market's begun to turn. But what this chart, again, a very powerful chart shows is, if you miss out on a few good days, it has a massive impact on your ability to maximize and participate in the long-term return of the market. In summary, there's a lot of things that on the surface sound smart. They sound prudent, but put through some of those first questions that we talked about. Is it realistic? Is it necessary? What happens if it doesn't quite work out? They prove to be pretty silly over time. The cost of volatility is temporary. With the right plan, education, proper cash flow, you can get through those bouts of volatility. The cost of too much fear is permanent. A permanent loss for you, your family, your goals, and your dreams. The ability to embrace the former and let go of the latter is in large part all about having the right partner. We certainly value the chance to be that for so many of you. If you're not a client, we're of course here anytime to chat about how we may be of help or those tweaks or changes that might help get your plan back on track. With that, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you soon.